Hey guys, or hey, Diane, how are we doing? Um, is everybody having a good week? I believe that we're live. Says that we are. We've got three people here. So I hope that well, I'll be one of them actually because I'm. Oh no, oh you're all over here on this chat. Um, so we've got Diane, we've got Debbie, and we've got Kristen. How are you doing? I was going to say there. Oh, I can't remember. It's been one of those days where do you ever get that where you get to the kind of towards the end of the day and your brain's just scattered, like completely fried, and you struggle to like just perform basic thought. That's kind of where my head's at just now. Um, hey Richard, how you doing? We've got Deanne says the notification's gone out. That's cool. Good Donna. Hey Donna, how you doing? From Nova Scotia in Canada. Um, Simon's here. Hey Simon, how are you? Uh, hope everybody's doing okay. What we all drinking? Has anyone got a wee alcoholic beverage? I don't, cause um, not really for any reason actually. I suppose I could if I wanted, couldn't I? But I've got a wee iron brew. Um, but yeah, hope everybody's doing okay. Um, how's my week been? Pretty busy. Uh, busy with work. Just the usual, really. Nothing all that exciting, I don't think. Um, I'm watching my niece tomorrow as usual, and then I'm going over and we're going to get food at theirs. So that should be good. But yeah, oh, I'm going away at the weekend actually. We're going away for an overnight stay in a hotel in a spa type thing. It's the first time I've actually ever done anything like that. So quite looking forward to it. Should be good. And I think Sandy is as well. So yeah, excited. Richard's drinking tea. Uh, Diane's drinking water, getting ready for a walk and weightlifting. You're weightlifting? How did I not know this? We were talking just there. How did I not know that you're planning on weightlifting today? Um, yeah, tell us more. Uh, Thank you. I will enjoy. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be good. I've never, to be honest, I've never been to like one of these spa weekends before. I'm a bit funny about people touching my back, believe it or not. Um, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how. I suppose I don't need to get a massage, do I? I could always get like something else. I think they've got a list of treatments that you can pick from, and I think we maybe pick two each or something like that. So yeah, we'll see. But what can I say? I'm funny about strangers touching me, as it were. Um, let's see. I said arms and back. Ryan is making me. Oh, that's pretty harsh. But yeah, I wasn't sure if I just muted myself there, but I don't think I did. I hope that hope you enjoy your weightlifting. Um, how about reflexology? Love having my feet done. Oh no, I don't know if I could be having somebody near my feet. No, thank you. Um, nah, it's all right. Um, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how we go on. You remember and ask me next week how the spa weekend was, and I'll tell you all about it. Um, so yeah, I thought it would be quite interesting to chat about numerology because it's in fact that was one thing I was going to do before. Let me see if I can do it now. Create a poll. Do you use and numerology, and mostly in the context of tarot reading. I was thinking, so I've got a wee poll here. Do you use numerology when reading tarot? Yes or no? So I'll stick it on there, and you can answer it if you feel like it. Um, I do. I use it quite a lot. I'm always thinking in numbers. I mean, outside the tarot, I did maths at uni. I'm a numbers person. Tend to remember numbers. Uh, Not like Rain Man style or anything like that, but I just I tend to remember reference numbers and stuff and phone numbers. So I've always been quite numbers oriented for some reason. Um, so yeah, like numerology. Like when I was kind of learning tarot, at first I approached it like just try to remember the 78 meanings of 78 cards, and it's obviously quite daunting, and um it's a mammoth task when you do it like that, but when you break it down using methods like numerology, and obviously there's other kind of a correspondence methods as well, it worked better with me. Um, so yeah, so like how many of us actually use numerology when we're reading tarot? Like, is it something you use at all? And feel free to fill up the chat with your comments as well. It doesn't just need to be in the poll. But yeah, like, do you use it at all? Like, not at all? Loads? Just a wee bit? Like, what's your thoughts on it? So far, we've got 86%. We've got 7 votes, so 86% yeah and 14% no. So is that a 1 to 6? One person doesn't and six do. Um, so so yeah. So sometimes would just be yeah, because like I don't use it every single time. Do you know what I mean? I don't think probably not very many people do. But if it's something that something that's in your knowledge base that you can pull on, if you so choose, that's what I mean. Um, so I suppose if sometimes you do, then you kind of do, don't you? Um, Kristen says yes, Ash. I use it up until 5, and then after that, I forget what the numbers mean because my memory. Right? Okay, fair enough. Um, See, and this is like kind of a where I was maybe going to take the conversation is like, you know, like how do the numbers work for you? Do you know what I mean? Like, and we can go through them in turn. But like, do you guys? So for those of you that voted yes, and those of you that do use it, do you just have a system that works for you that you've just kind of worked out over time, that how the numbers work, the ace through 10, or do you use the corresponding majors as your basically just kind of a take the general numerological meanings from that, or have you kind of found it in a book, or like how do how do you get your numerological correspondences? How do you get your meanings? Um, so Simon says I voted right then. More so with minors, right? Yeah. I think probably a lot of us, even if we're more so work with scenic decks, when we do pick up like a playing card deck or like a pip deck, we maybe turn to numerology a wee bit. I know a lot of people will maybe just translate back to the Smith way or whatever it is that they happen to be used to. But I know that when I read with non-scenic decks, I definitely kind of rely a lot on numbers. Even actually, see, even with scenic decks, see if there's a card where the image just doesn't ring true with me. I might then, even then, like kind of I'll have in the back of my mind, what does this number mean for me, and what do I think the card should mean? Um, yeah. I'm getting a wee bit rambly. So Kristen says you taught me, so I used the Chris method, did I? Well, I'm very flattered, thank you. Simon says, I'm not a 100% sure where I got them from, but I wrote some down in my minority. That's a spelling error, isn't it? It's like I can't remember what the word is, but it's your diary thing, isn't it? A few years ago. Uh, yeah, I didn't mean with just pips. Also illustrated minors, right? Okay. Richard says 1 to 9, then the doubles I add to become singular. For example, 15 becomes 1, 1 plus 5 is 6. I'm apparently just wrecking the place today. Your Midori, right, yeah, I knew it had a name like that. Is there not a drink called Midori? So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of I suppose I'm just a wee bit of everything, and the more time goes on, the more it depends on what deck I'm working with. So what I've found is that you know how you get some decks, like for example the Mariel, um, Dreams of Gaia, the Witches, the Canon Read Witches, decks that just don't really seem to follow any of the three main systems. What I often try to do is look at the minors, look at lay out the ace through 10, the four suits in a grid, and think, right, is there have they got their own numerology system? So do all of the sixes in this deck mean one particular thing? Do all of the sevens mean one particular thing? And obviously, it's never an exact science because if you do that with like the Rider-Waite Smith, you've got to kind of come and go with it a bit, but you can generally, I've found you can generally find some sort of commonality, some sort of theme with each of the numbers, and it can be quite helpful for getting to know a new deck. And if you can kind of work out, where is that person's hat, where is that person's head at with regards to what they think the numbers mean, it can make it a lot easier to familiarize yourself with a deck, and that's why. When I like in like the Mariel study group, for example, I at the start I will talk a wee bit just generally about the numbers and the elements. Just break it into its base components because I think if we understand the base stuff, then it's easier to understand when it's put together. It's easier to understand the actual card itself. Um, Debbie says one of the first exercises in Tom Benjamin's Tarot on Earth gives a great start into numerology. Cool. I've not actually got Tarot on Earth. It's probably one I should invest in. Um, so Donna says, yeah, but still learning. Studying with Sedana has helped a lot in regards to numerology. Oh, hey Patrice, how are you doing? And tell Vernetta I said hi as well. Let's see. Patrice. Um, so yeah, like, does anyone else do that? Is it just me? Like when you get a kind of a new deck that's a bit out there, does anyone else tend to kind of do that with the minors to see if they can find some sort of common theme to the numbers? I don't know. I find it easier to see. I always found that easier in maths. Like it's easier to kind of remember the basic stuff. If I can remember the basic stuff and I can understand how to get so if I can remember three formulas and I can use them to get nine formulas, that's better than having to remember the nine formulas. Do you know what I mean? Um, that's just how my brain works. So I think that I kind of do that with tarot a wee bit as well. Um, let's see. So Mark, hey Mark, by the way, I don't relate them to the majors. Use as pure numbers only. came up with my own meanings, but jives with most of the usual numerology meanings. The Rider-Waite-Smith minors illustrate the numbers quite well. I suppose mostly they do, yeah. There are some that I don't know. I find a wee bit difficult to understand where they've got that image from for that number. The example I always use is the Three of Swords. Threes are about like growth, expansion, um, action, making things real. Taking your first real steps. That for me anyway. Um, and the swords are about the mind. So whilst I can appreciate that going through that painful process that we associate with that, the heart with the three swords through it, that there is a lot of growth and learning, and that it's not the only way that we learn. I don't know. So yeah, I get it. Um, let's see. Oh, hey Sandra. Sorry, I don't know if I actually saw you come in. Oh, there you are. Hi, how are you doing? Yeah, and thank you, Patrice. Oh, hey Ruby, how you doing? Um, Sorry if I've missed anyone coming in. Probably because I'm off on a tangent and ranting away about numbers. But I hope everybody's doing okay. Yeah, Kristen says I sometimes relate them to the majors, like the Empress is about creativity. Yeah, creativity. That was a word I was looking for. Growth, fertility. So I read those meanings into the minors. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I kind of can see that and do the same thing, I think. Um, Simon says definitely we need to see disruption in our fives. Yeah, true. I mean, as long as that's what the number is trying to do. I know that, like for example, in playing cards, so anyone that's got the playing Marseille, if you look, I think it's in that, you look at the guidebook for that, the fives are all about physicality because it's five and because there's like the head, the two hands, and the 2 feet, like the 5 points of the human body. Um, Fives is all about physical, you know. Um, so for that, I wouldn't necessarily expect to see disruption in the fives. I think disruption's actually the seven. Seven is about disruption in playing card reading, or and that Ryan Edwards system for playing card reading. Uh, so yeah, I mean that's the thing, see, I think for me, as long as there's some sort of consistency in it, that I would rather that. I think. Kristen says I still count using my toes. Agree with Mark. So you don't use the majors either. Um, Kristen says sometimes I have a hard time seeing similarities across the numbers and majors and all the minors. Sometimes I struggle. I find it hard seeing similarities across the numbers and majors. Yeah, yeah, no, I definitely agree, 100%. I think that's what I'm meaning when I'm saying like I think sometimes you've got to come and go with it. You've got to be a bit lenient. If you try and be too stringent with it, I think it becomes too restrictive. And you get yourself stuck. So I think it's always a kind of a, you use it when it's useful for you, but when it's not, you leave it to one side kind of a thing. I suppose a good example for me is maybe, I suppose, to a degree, the Hermit. So the Hermit, obviously number nine, the ninth arcanum. For me, the Hermit is all about, reflection. The answers are within you. When the Hermit comes up, for me, it's quite often suggesting, um, you need to go deep within in order to find the answers. It might be quite difficult. You might find yourself becoming a bit. It's not that you're becoming reclusive, but for others on the outside looking in at you, it might seem a bit different. It might seem a bit unusual, a bit eccentric, or whatever. But whatever your journey is, in order to find the answers that you're looking for, it's that kind of a difficulty. Um, Whereas when I look at the nines and the minors, for me, nine is a number of completion. Now I know that like you could look at the hermit as being the kind of a final stages of that first journey of the fool, um, or that that first stage. It's like it's getting to the end of that first bit, and then it's ready to kind of a recycle with the wheel of fortune. A lot of decks. I think the Druid Craft illustrates it really nicely. The Hermit actually looks like an older version of the Fool because they're both on that kind of a mountain. I suppose the Smith Waite as well, actually, now I think about it. But quite often it's like, it's like the Fool after a certain amount of time. I'm not expressing myself very well here. So I suppose there is that aspect of completion to a degree with the Hermit. But it's just not something that I necessarily think about when I get the Hermit card, whereas when I get a 9, I do. I think of completion, I think of, like, attainment, all that kind of a thing. So I hope you know what I mean? So I think there's, like, some numbers that are more obvious and more, I suppose they have more of a universal meaning than others. So for me, most people will read aces the same. So what do we all read the aces as? Just as a pure number, what is the ace or the one? I mean, for me, it's like new beginnings, new potential energy. It's all that kind of a thing. And I think most, wherever you see it, it's mostly going to be the same. Quite often it might mean it shows you the potential of the whole suit. Um, yeah, I'm good, Sandra. Thank you very much. Mark says sometimes the Smith way illustrates the meaning, but blocked. The eights are progress and movement. But the Eight of Swords shows a lack of that movement. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's true. Three for sure, growth and expansion. And I do like to cross-reference with the majors. Five for me equals change. Yeah, yeah, that I think that's like Vincent Petici has a kind of a similar outlook on the fives, doesn't he? I apply the basic numerology to all decks, including playing cards, says Simon. Um, I'm rubbish. That's why I don't use pip decks. Does this mean you're rubbish when like numerology with numbers, Sandra? That's not true at all. Don't say that about yourself. You're not rubbish. You're awesome. I'll send you a pic of the cheat sheet I used, Sandra, says Simon. Um, I rubbish with numbers, Sandra says. So I think with numbers like the aces, I think to a certain degree, threes, most people will see them about creation or creativity or growth or something. Fours, I think most of us probably look at the four as the card of stability. We all think, either the Emperor, which is, stabilization, or, the analogy with the table with the four legs. Um, you start to see a lot of kind of a difference when we look at the fives, although fives mostly are kind of in tarot at least, they're about kind of a disruption. Sixes and sevens, eights, nines and tens. I suppose tens are kind of uh, is another one that most people will agree on, but those when it starts to go from five and beyond, that's when they start to differ, I think. Um, yeah, am I boring everyone with my numbers chat because I'm a bit of a maths geek? Um, I find numbers really interesting, so I do. Like when I see like the same when I see the same numbers come up and I read them, I'm like, oh, you know, um, tens are coming together for me, says Simon. Yeah, I think for me, tens are like the kind of a renewal of the cycle. Um, it's like it's time for the energy to kind of a come round again. So cards like the Ten of Cups, you see this kind of different people see different things in the Ten of Cups, like the Smith-Waite Ten of Cups, don't they? Um, you might look at it as like, you've achieved that happy family type thing, happy family, I'll put in inverted commas because, that feeling of contentment and achievement and stuff is, in a family context is different for different people. But what we see is that kind of a passing down, like creating that happy environment for the next generation or whatever it is. Um, the Ten of Pence, you're passing down that knowledge. That kind of material stability that you've created. That's kind of the next generation is taking that up and they're benefiting from that. For me, the Ten of Wands, that's when I start to struggle to relate it back to that kind of a completion and coming together and renewal of the cycle. But I think the Smith Waite Ten of Wands for me shows us what happens if we don't pass on the torch when it's time to. So the example that always comes to mind for me is, if I get to a point where I'm ready to retire, it's time for me to stop working and move on. I'm presented with a choice about whether to kind of a pass on the torch, pass on whatever it is that I'm doing onto the next person who can then take it forward, or do I keep on kind of a pressing on with that and trying to, for lack of a better expression, flog that dead horse. Um, you kind of you try and hang on to the fire too long and you end up getting burned by it, that kind of a thing. I think that to me is what the Ten of Wands and the Smith Waite depiction shows us. It's what happens if you kind of if you don't. It's a kind of a shadow meaning. If you don't pass on that torch, if you don't let the energy renew, then you get to yourself where that you're that burdened way and struggling and stuff. Um, the Ten of Swords, it's kind of a like you've been through a shit time and now the new sunrise is coming up. It's time to move on. The only way is up from here. So again, you've got that idea of kind of the new cycle. Uh, Simon says, no, not boring at all. Geek out all you like. Donna says, not boring. I enjoy hearing different people's number meanings in tarot. Uh, Mark says, for me, tens show the suit and the extreme scenarios for good or for bad. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Uh, do you follow numbers like, uh, is that angel numerology or angle numerology? I know the word says angel. For example, clock time 11:11, 21:21. No, I don't really take notice of that stuff, to be honest with you. The only numerology that I tend to use outside tarot is like, like your birth date and stuff like that, and your card of the year and stuff. It's always related back to tarot, let's be honest. But I don't tend to use numerology outside of tarot. So there's a question actually. How many of us actually use it outside of tarot? Because I'm thinking like even when I'm using it for like, birthdays and stuff like that, I'm still always thinking, right, what's the corresponding major card in the tarot, you know? Um, so it's still tarot. What was I going to say there? So right? So if we're all kind of agreed on the lower numbers, let's chat about the ones that people start to differ on. So are we all like the fives? What does everyone read the fives as? I think Richard, it might have been you that said that you read them as change. What does other people see the fives as, Simon? I think you might have said disruption. Uh, Debbie says I did notice randomly 1:11 today on the punch clock at work. Um, yeah, five. What does five mean to us? It would help if I got any decks that are in order where I can pull cards from. Let's see. Are you in order? Yes, you are. This is helpful. So let's see. Let's pull out Hierophant. Let's pull out the Five of Swords, Five of Cups, and Five of Pentacles. Boosh. Move that out of the way. Right, so let's see. The Hierophant, the mother of all fives. Zoom out just a smidge. Then we've got the Five of Wands. I'll stick that down there. The Five of Swords, Cups, and Pentacles. And I'm using your favorite deck, the one that's dead clear, and so clear that you can even see the Pixie signature on the full. Um, so let's see. Kristen says the five is about growth through tension. Okay. Simon says, yeah, you're destabilizing the balance of the four. But I guess there can be growth in every card. I suppose if we think about the tarot as like a book of lessons or whatever, then I suppose that there is going to be growth, even in the worst cards, particularly in the worst cards actually. Fives is disruption, says Patrice. Can't stay in the comfort of the four. Yep, absolutely. Took the exact words out of my mouth. Simon, says Mark. Uh, piss off. You piss off. Um, hey, am I wrong? Yeah, I like that word destabilizing, but not sure how that relates to the Hierophant, I suppose. So I think so right, when I think about the Fool, so this is how I think about the fives and how I relate it to the Hierophant. I think about the Fool's journey, right? Think about what the Fool's going through when he goes through the one, the two, the three, and the four. The one and the two, for me personally, I look at that as a bit of self-discovery. You're learning about your own energies, your own inner self. You're learning about, your active side and your passive side. You know, with the magician, it's like how you're using those kind of those four tools, those four elements, your God-given gifts, if you want to put it that way, to interact with the world around about you, and the potential that those gifts hold. With the high priestess, it's a bit of the opposite. You learn how to go within. You learn that within you is a whole breadth of knowledge, of wisdom. You might look at that as like the collective unconscious, if you believe in such a thing. But the point is, those two cards for me are about the self. The 3 and the 4, you can think about that as the fool meeting the kind of a the parents, the kind of a parental energies. But it's all, the Empress. Both of them, I suppose, are a kind of a ruling energy. It's about how you conduct yourself. The Empress promotes growth through love and encouragement and all that kind of a thing. With the Emperor, we learn the rules. We learn that we need to keep in place all that kind of thing. All very earthly cards. The Hierophant is where things start becoming a bit more spiritual. With the Hierophant, we're asked to believe in something and look at something out with ourselves. We're asked to have faith in something that we can't prove. There's no kind of a proof where when it comes to the stuff that the Hierophant's talking about. It's a lot more spiritual. It's a lot more like you kind of just have to take that leap of faith. And it's that change in viewpoint that creates, for me, it's that instability. So when we're talking about, the fives mean change and the fives mean destabilization, instability, disruption, I think these are all right for me. It's the instability and the disruption is brought about through changes that happen to us. And with the Hierophant, it's that change in viewpoint. You're being asked to believe in something greater, something that you've not to this point yet um, had to think about. Does that make sense? Let's see. The Hierophant is my birth card, so I'm stuck with the entire five constellation as my life path, says Mark. Um, Laughing at Patrice with the bush. Yeah, what Simon said. Um, Thank you. But yeah, that tends to be the way that I look at it. It's actually demonstrated really nicely in the Lightseers Taro. Um, if you look at the Hierophant card on the Lightseers Tarot, it shows this kind of a path up into the sky. So like, let's see if I can find it actually. Oops. So so I'm just looking for like the Hierophant and maybe like the Empress and the Emperor. Let's see if we can find them. There's the Emperor. There's the Hierophant there. And there's the Empress. The Empress is Gaia, it's the Earth itself. Um, so the Empress and the Emperor are both very kind of earthly energies. Whereas when we come to the Hierophant, to see how it's kind of going beyond the Earth, it's going above to something greater. And I'm not sure what this sacred geometrical symbol is. It might be like the flower of life or something like that, but I'm not sure. Someone will know better than me about that. So it's kind of demonstrated quite nicely in this deck. This idea of going beyond. Um, so for example, with the five of discs, for me that's discs and pentacles, earth. It's all about value, isn't it? It's all about the things in life that we value and the things in life that bring us security. The five is where that starts to falter. It's where we start to think, right, okay, maybe it's not all about the material stuff. Maybe there's something greater, and it's a concept that's illustrated beautifully in the Mariel Tarot because we see the guy has, I think it's like Adam. He's got uh, the guy like Eden, heaven, whatever, um, within an Ouroboros in his breast. And it's like, the thing you're looking for is within you. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to find it in all the material stuff around about you. It's within you. And until you learn that lesson, um, you're going to feel that struggle. Um, so yeah. Anyway, that's the fives. I think growth comes when a person starts questioning the accepted religious order, which can be very destabilizing. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. What do we think about sixes? Um, oh, Simon says, uh-oh, and then he's back. Phew. Did I pause or something? Was something up? Uh, when you're going through the five shit show, you need the faith of the Hierophant. Yeah, that's true. Um, let's see. Six of Wands. I think the sixes are maybe a wee bit simpler to see, a bit more an easier concept to see within the cards themselves, I guess. Uh, so yeah, Simon says so the six is harmony. It's that settling down after the five. Yeah, I completely agree. That's exactly how I look at it as well. Um, the and how that relates to the lovers. The lovers for me, it's almost like the yin looking for the yang or the yang looking for the yin or whatever it is. And it might not be one other thing. It's about looking to achieve that harmony if there's something else that's needed to complete yourself. And this might not necessarily be another person like is depicted in the card. It might be like knowledge. It might be something that you need to gain in order to kind of get that sense of harmony and completion within yourself. Um, that to me is kind of what the lovers is all about. It's that kind of almost like a magnetic force. Once you've found it, it's that coming together to create that perfection, that harmony. Perfection is what the sixth sphere, the Tiferet, is all about, like that beauty and perfection and stuff. Um, so yeah, I agree. I agree. It's all about kind of finding harmony. Um, and I think that's really kind of quite easy to see across the four cards. The only one I suppose where it's maybe not as um, obvious in the imagery is maybe the Six of Cups. For me, this Six of Cups, I've never really been too sure what it is that I'm looking at in it. I know we normally associate it with nostalgia, with thinking back, remembering happier times maybe. Uh, what do we think? Mark says six for me is balance, beauty, interrelationship. Simon says my life path card, always looking. Uh, Donna says the sixes are beauty, balance, heart space, and spirit. Yeah. Robbie, hi Robbie, how you doing? Um, Hope you're all having a wonderful evening and enjoying the show. Um, Not how you doing, Robbie? I hope you're doing okay. Um, yeah, I suppose the six is pretty. What do we think about the Six of Cups? How do we relate that to the concept of like harmony and heart space and all that kind of a thing? What are you thinking? For me, like I suppose the way I look at it and the way that I make this work is, I think, right, well, if we think about the six, it's about harmony. Cups, it's a kind of a more emotional. So yeah, so the card is about emotional harmony. If we think about it in the broader context, it's about finding that harmony after you've had the difficulty. So thinking about the Five of Cups, we think being upset, being you know bereaved maybe. It's about going through a difficult emotional time And the six is kind of a rebalancing those scales. It's about getting getting a bit of yourself back and feeling a bit more at peace with yourself and a bit happier within yourself, a bit more content. Um, how do we achieve that emotional rebalancing, that emotional harmony? Um, Potentially by, reconnecting with our younger selves, reconnecting with old friends. Um, that is one way we can do it. It's not the only way we can do it, but I suppose you could say that for any fully illustrated deck, couldn't you? You could say, well, you're only ever going to be able to capture one example of what the core meaning of the card is, which is I think is why a lot of people prefer pip decks because they're not limited to the image that they see. Um, Robbie says, I'm doing wonderful, ready for the weekend. That sounds good. So am I. I was telling everyone about our weekend away that we've got coming up for Spa Day. Um, so yeah, I am excited for that. Mark says Six of Cups is kindness for me. Right, that's really nice. For me, it's about thinking back to happier and harmonious times. Yeah, I guess. I don't know whether. So for me, I'm thinking if I'm in that five space, right? Thinking back to happier times can almost exacerbate the pain and the difficulty. I don't know if it necessarily makes me feel better, which I feel as though that's what the Six of Cups should be. It should be about starting to feel better or moving towards kind of an acceptance of the whole situation, you know? Um, so yeah, it's an interesting one. Uh, Tortoiseshell Moon. Hi, by the way. Lovely to see you. Says Six of Cups is maybe harmonizing emotional attachments. Yeah, definitely. How serendipitous. I've been thinking about numerology. Thanks, Chris. Says Beth. You're very welcome. It's lovely to see you. Nostalgia always seems to be connected to happiness and harmony, says Simon. There is something pertaining to choice in each of these, but I can't say what it is. I can't verbalize that. Yeah, yeah, I guess. Um, for me, it reminds me that life isn't always disruptive. Yeah, that's true. It depends on what you do with that pain when it comes up, no, I guess. So that's the sixes. Um, that kind of a balance of energies, uh, kind of a rebalance in the scales, reharmonization, if that's even a word. Hillary, hi Hillary, how you doing? Okay, this is where it starts to become, I think, where it starts to maybe become a bit more, not difficult, but where opinions might start to differ. What do we think about the sevens? This is where I maybe start to struggle to relate it to the chariot, to the corresponding major. Um, how do we interpret the sevens, and how do we apply that to each of the five cards? So Simon says seven. Now we go into new growth. Right. Okay. But then, would you necessarily how would you relate that to the chariot then? Because I don't know, I suppose when you think about, the Lovers, you've got that kind of a harmony. It almost feels like a bit of a rest point, whereas with the Chariot, we're charging forwards. So I suppose in that, looking at it that way, it kind of it is. Um, and embraces our inner convictions. So into new growth, and we embrace our inner convictions, says Simon. I like your perspective about the five shit show, Mark. Thanks for sharing. It's just what I needed to see today, says Laurie. Mark says, for me, the sevens are taking a risk, having a breakthrough, assessment. Yeah, assessment is a word that I really use a lot with the sevens. Um, that's that. Maybe not so much with the chariot, but with these four sevens, assessment is a common theme for me. Um, I want to know, as seven is my birth number, I'm hopeless with numerology. Okay. Whoops. So Beth says growth equals movement forward and balancing things, balancing desires and choices. Um, Simon says the inner convictions, Chris, after we've destabilized, then comes the settling down with the harmony. Then we move into finding out and then convictions and moving forward. I think I've maybe read that wrong. So inner convictions. After we've been destabilized, we then settle down with a harmony, and then we move to finding new convictions and moving forward, new growth. Our convictions, right? Okay, I've got you. Um, Mark says we are being tested under seven. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like that's to me, that is exactly what we see. With the seven of wands, it's like your resolve is being tested almost by those around about you. You know, um, you've been recognised in cards like the four and the six, but now things are really flying at you, and it's testing how passionate are you about this thing? How much staying power do you have? How much do you care about this? How much can you take before you break? That is the seven of wands for me. The seven of swords, it's a bit less direct. I suppose. Uh, I suppose it's thinking about your methods. I guess the seven of swords, assessing your methods. It's a bit of a self assessment. Think about how you're approaching this. Think about how you're trying to achieve your goal. Maybe you need to think about doing it a different way. Whether it's just a less direct way, or maybe just stop trying to if what you're doing is failing over and over again, then you need to find a different way of doing it. You're not suddenly going to achieve it by keep doing the same thing. In fact, that's see if I can find it. The deviant moon, that's demonstrated really nicely in the Seven of Swords. It's that one where she's kind of holding the sword over her mouth. She's probably right at the end, no doubt. There it's there. So there's the Seven of Swords and the deviant moon. So these around about her all represent all these failed attempts, you know. Um, and yet she's kind of continuing to try and go at it in the same way, and she's potentially putting herself at risk in what she's doing, but it's like the kind of the message that's screaming out at us here is you need to find a different way about this. You need to do something different, find a different approach, think outside the box, assess your methods, that kind of a thing. Seven of Cups for me has always been about kind of a illusion, or choices, I guess, but maybe a wee bit of both. But whichever way, you need to kind of assess your situation because you're maybe not fully understanding it. And then the Seven of Discs, you're kind of thinking, right, is now the right time? You're assessing your assets and thinking, is now the right time for me to, harvest, or do I need to wait a bit longer? Let's see. Tortoiseshell Moon says, "Hi, I've just snuck in. Not first time here, first time commenting. Well, it's lovely to see you. Welcome. Thank you for commenting. Um, yeah, I tend to view the Seven of Swords as resilience, surviving by using what resources are available to you. Yeah. Speech to text inner, finding our inner convictions. Oh, right. So you must be driving or something. So finding our inner convictions, says Simon. Uh, Beth says Seven of Wands, using Simon's word, defending your convictions. Um, it's like one of those bad dreams where you're trying to type or dial a number and it keeps going wrong. Yeah, it's kind of like when somebody's changed put a shortcut into your phone so as that it keeps changing to not what you're typing and saying something rude. You ever seen any of those things? Anyway, Tortoiseshell Moon says sevens for me are about evolution, progression, and manifestation. Um, the the next so I've been doing the Mary L study group, and the next uh, cards that we're due to look at are the sevens and the minors. And I love how Mary White relates them back to the chariot. It's basically all about the chariot in the Mary L. Um, the Seven of Wands is it's depicted as a white wolf, which is kind of a like we've got here it's sphinxes. So we've got the white sphinx and the black sphinx, which represent in Plato's kind of allegory. Plato's chariot, which is a kind of a metaphor for the soul. You've got like the charioteer, the white horse, and the dark horse, and they all represent different parts of the self. And then that's broken out into into the different parts. So like you've got the white horse or the white wolf, and the wands, the uh, the dark horse or the dark wolf, and the cups, the swords as the charioteer themselves. That's the mind, the free will. Free will is a strong one for the sevens and the Mariel. It's the reason behind everything. Um, that's trying to control these two horses, and then the Seven of Discs is it's the manifestation of all. You could look at it as the chariot itself, or you could look at it as the fully accomplished charioteer. They've achieved their goal. Um, so that's really cool. Um, and one of the reasons that I love the Mariel so much is because it does very strongly relate back to the major. Okay, so the sevens, and then I think there's the eights. The eights are maybe a wee bit easier. We maybe kind of a more have more universal ideas about the eights. So in this deck, it's strength, but funnily enough, I feel that justice is a better in terms of numerology. I feel that justice works better at eight. Let's see, Eight of Wands, the Eight of Swords. Uh, it's the Seven of Wands, Beth. The Seven of Wands and the Mariel Taro is the White Wolf. Let's see, the Eight of Cups and the Eight of Discs. So what do we see the eights has been about? And what major card do we think fits better as the 8? The Strength or Justice? In fact, let's put Justice there. Let's really mess with the system here. So I prefer Justice in this 8 position because for me, 8s are it's about, for me, it's mainly about stability, but stability giving rise to momentum. Okay. So you've created such a strong, stable system that it takes on a life of its own, right? You know, whether it's like your passionate system, your endeavors, this thing that you've built up, you've got it to such a strong, stable point, that like think of it as a project, it's got so good that all of a sudden things are transcending, they're taking on a life of their own, you know, that small business that you started out like building up, put your heart and soul into it, all of a sudden you're opening up different stores, you've got 3 different stores or whatever. Just as an example, um, here we see a bit of like the opposite, the shadow side, where we don't really see any movement. Um, the Eight of Cups, sorry, for the Eight of Swords, we're maybe a wee bit too stuck. It's the other way about, where all of that high energy in the mind is giving rise to too much stability physically, you know, to a point where we feel stuck. So you're overthinking things, your mind's racing, your mind's going at 100 miles an hour. But because of that, progression wise and self development wise, we're kind of a halted. And it's not until we can break through that we get ourselves out of this situation. So it's still related to that kind of a dichotomy of stability and progression, stability and momentum, movement. We still see that theme here. It's just kind of it's just a wee bit different. Um, the Eight of Cups. It's all about go. There's something missing. There's something. I mean, at least in this, there's the missing cup. There's something not quite right, and you're going out in search of that. It's a bit of a soul searching card, I guess. And then the Eight of Discs is you've become so skilled. You're like a master at what you're doing now. That the work is almost just churning out itself. And I mean, why do I think justice relates better to that? Because justice to me is it's the axiom of laws. It's the systems that we live within. You know, um, to me, this doesn't just represent legal justice or social justice. It's natural justice. It's natural laws, things like gravity. Things like the laws of science and physics and stuff like that. It's cosmic justice, you know. It's all sorts of things. It's this kind of it represents this system of cause and effect, of interconnectedness that we all live within. That is embodied in the justice card. Um, so it's that stable system again that we're talking about that we see reflected in the eights is why I prefer justice in that position, just from a numerological point of view and relating it to the minors. Um, let's see. 8 for me is progress, movement, and empowerment. I would agree that justice is the better card. 8 balance, says Richard. Beth says that's interesting because in nature the white wolf is less threatened by human encroachment. Interesting. I think the reason that she uses wolves is because in the chariot we see Odin on and in fact, have I got the chariot? No, I've been pulling the chariot all week, but not today. Um, Odin is being pulled by a group of wolves, and that's the chariot card, and that's why she uses wolves on the minor cards. Definitely strength at 8 for me, says Hilary. Beth agrees. 8 is also mastering something. I see strength as the link for my definition. 8 is 4 doubled stability. I agree, says Tortoise Moon Shell. Sorry, Tortoise Shell Moon. Beg your pardon. Jennifer Rebecca says, "Hi Chris, hi all. This is super informative and helpful. I came in late, but so glad I'm catching this. I'll start it from the beginning when the live ends. Unfortunately, I've not been sensible about it and started from the ace and worked my way up. I've just kind of jumped in between different numbers and picked and choose what ones I wanted to talk about. I've tried to talk more about the numbers that where we maybe all have like people have more different ideas. So like we well a lot of us see the aces and the fours and things about what we see them about. We kind of more agree with the kind of a new ideas, new potential for the ace, the stability at the four. Um, but when we start getting to the higher numbers, that's I think when it starts to get a bit more difficult. Let's see. Karmic Justice says, Beth, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I do see karma as being very much a part of the justice card. I don't, funnily enough, see it as being part of the Wheel of Fortune. For me, the Wheel of Fortune is a completely different beast. Wheel of Fortune for me is about chaos. It's about, I appreciate not everyone has this view of how the world works, right? But I don't think that everything that happens can be linked back to some sort of cause. I do believe in chaos. I do believe there are some things that just happen because they happen. There's some things we've got absolutely no control of. Now, I appreciate that, there are a lot of things where we think we've got no control, and we might like to tell ourselves we don't have control. That's not my fault. There's nothing I could have done to prevent that. When really we could have, right? I do appreciate that, but I do believe in chaos. I do think chaos is a thing. Um, and I think that to me that's the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is like luck, you know. It's things that are outside our control. Fortuna will just come along and turn that wheel, whether we deserve it or not, whether we like it or not. It's not about having your fair time at each point in the wheel. It's it's just pure chaos. Um, and Fortuna is a servant of chaos almost. So Marx is mastering taming the lion with strength, the lion within and strength. Simon says master it, but don't rest on your laurels as you could go into stagnation. It's- Here's an interesting question actually, because different people see this card in different ways. So the two kind of, I suppose, main ways that I've seen this read is either one, you see this as like momentum. Things are things are moving, and you're kind of riding that energy. The energy is kind of in your favor. So you're almost kind of like riding on these ones. You're kind of benefiting from this high speed, this high energy movement. But some people, number two, some people will see it as like a lot of stuff's coming at you. So some people will kind of put themselves in this position at the other side where the wands are flying towards them. And it's like I kind of I need to get out here, I need to change something. I need to move out the way, you know. So what way do you guys tend to read the Eight of Wands? Because there's two different ways of looking at the situation. Kristen says, same Chris, not everything happens for a reason. Beth says, same. I don't see the Wheel of Fortune as karma. I see it in justice and oddly perhaps in the Six of Pentacles. Yeah, yeah. Um, I agree. Regarding the Wheel of Fortune, yep. For the Eight of Coins, I suppose I see that finding continuing strength and whatever we see might be going on in the eights. Uh, Simon says, Beth, she can master the situation as she has more control than she realizes. If she stands there and does nothing, then she'll stagnate. Yeah, this is strength. Yeah. Um, are the wands flying off or falling down? Um, See, to me, I'd look at this as the wands are moving with purpose. look at them all moving in the same direction. And this is where this is why I talk about this stable system that gives rise to this momentum and this movement. Think about how much discipline it would have taken to be able to get all of those wands, all of those ducks in a row, all of those wands flying in that kind of a parallel trajectory. You know, that's some amount of discipline, some amount of mastery over your skill. Um, so I don't see this as a kind of an accidental falling. I definitely see this as something's happening with purpose. But do you see this as happening in your favor or happening against you? Um, Manasseh's lurking whilst working. Lurking while working. You're a poet and you didn't know it. Hey Manasseh, it's lovely to see you. Kristen says momentum. The Eight of Wands depends on context for me, says Beth. Yep, fair enough. Uh, Liz, hi Liz, how you doing? So Liz says it depends on the reading context, whether they're coming at me or coming from me. Right, okay, yeah, fair enough. Absolutely. Um, I suppose a lot of people, it might, people will read with direction, so it might depend what side of, like, you know, of the heart of the reading that the Eight of Wands falls at. Depends on whether they're flying at the person or from them. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's really cool. Deanne says the Nine of Wands and transient light is so interesting to me. It looks like the traditional Eight of Wands, but with a ninth and the bottom a ninth at the bottom center of the card, as though someone is hiding it, is holding it. Right? Okay. Yeah. It's funny. There's another deck that I think it's Inner Dimensions Tarot that does that with one of the cards. I'm like, I think it's the Seven of Wands that looks as though it could be an Eight of Wands in that deck. I wonder if I could find it quickly. Ugh, probably not. Sorry. But yeah, that's another one that kind of does that. It throws you a wee bit. Uh, Sort of off topic, but discussion about the eight made me think about it. No, no, that's fair enough. Joe, hi Joe, how are you doing? We're at 10:15. Time's really flying today, isn't it? So those are the eights. What have we not talked about today? We've not talked about the twos, the threes. Kind of I talked about the aces and the fours, five, six, and seven, eights and nines. No, so twos and threes, nines and tens. So we can chat about that next week if you want. We can kind of continue this. And I will move on to do some readings since it's after 10. I'm going to use the Shimmering Veil. This was a gift or a swap, I guess, from our lovely Simon from the Hermit's Cave. This is an absolutely stunning deck. I used this in my round table reading for Marvin. Uh, Kind of more towards the start of the year, I think. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions for the cards, then please pop them in the chat. Let's see, we'll do our usual. Joe says, I read the Eight of Wands as controlled fire energy. When out of balance, it can cause mayhem. Beth says, this is so fun. Thank you. You're so welcome. Tortoise Moon Shell. No, Tortoise Shell Moon. I keep doing that, don't I? I think you just need to change your channel name, Tortoise Shell Moon. I'm sorry. Um, It all depends on context with the Eight of Wands, but with the Nine of Wands, with the wounded, resilient man who looks battered by the Eight Wands, it suggests that the energy might be flying at you, particularly in the Druid craft. Yeah, no, I can see that. I can appreciate that. Um, oh, oh, Simon had typed out his nine response, so I feel bad now. Well, if you've not deleted it, then stick it in. I tell you what we'll do is, if anyone wants a reading, you can pop your question in the chat. But let's move on then and talk about the nines. Let's kind of at least finish off the section that we were on. Simon's probably gone and deleted everything, and now he's like, "Oh, I need to type it all again." Right, Hermit, where are you? Right there. Nine of Wands, Swords, Cups, and Pence. It's okay, you've left us wanting more. We'll still get the twos and threes to talk about, so we'll still get something we can talk about next week. Um, oh, that's all ski with. Let's just sort that right out. We have none of that on my channel. What do we see about the nines then? What do we think of the nines? Um, Here we go. So nines, I see two ways: attainment, but also dynamic energy. Definitely, yeah. The nines really embody that. Like if you take the energy that that suit represents and make it really intense, make the suit a really kind of a high energy level. The nines kind of a show you what's happening across each of those four kind of a four different areas of life, don't they? So, for example, the nine of wands, what happens when things become really, really passionate? When you take the things that you're passionate about and ramp it up to the absolute max, sometimes we can get burnt. It's like when you try and, hold on to fire for too long, you can be hurt. Um, I'm not sure if I really enjoy seeing like the fact that the person's wounded. I see that as more experience. I think I would rather see healed scars in this card. If we're going to use like injuries as as the anecdote, as the kind of the not euphemism, the metaphor, I think I would rather see healed scars in this nine card rather than bandaged up wounds. Because I feel with the healed scars, it's like it shows experience. It shows that you've been through it all, you've done it all, um, and you've got all the lessons. You've learned to kind of you're coming from a place of um, what's that expression that Elle uses? They always used to put it in Taro Playdate. Teach from the scars, not from the wounds. So I feel as though this would be depicted better if we had scars rather than wounds, I suppose is what I'm trying to say. Um, this is, I mean, think about high intense energy of the mind. Look no further. Emotional, high intense emotional energy. Like if we think about this as the wish cards, it's like you've got everything you ever wanted. You're kind of a fulfilled in that way. Is what this card tends to represent. Um, so, some people look at this as a kind of a being surrounded by the people that you care about. He's got all these cups ready for all his friends. Um, You've got a very full heart. So from that point of view, it's like the intense water energy. And then here you've got that all that kind of attainment and the material realm. Torres Shellman says, just call me Kathy instead. That works. I will absolutely take you up on that. It's a lot easier to say. Okay, Kathy, thank you. Let's see. A 4 and a 5 together, stability and instability. Um, Beth is singing to us. She's singing about Elton John. Let's see. So yeah, what do we think about the nine then? What do other people think about the nine? How do we read nine as a number in numerology? Has anyone got any different ideas about and how do we relate it back to the hermit? You know, because I don't know about you guys, but when I look just visually, like forget everything you know about tarot and look at the visuals of these cards, this has got a really different feel to it than what these four do. You know, maybe to a degree where you can see the experience, and it's almost a bit like being beaten down by everything that's happened to us so far by that experience. We can kind of see that as a commonality across these two. Um, but yeah, I feel as though the hermit has quite a different energy. Joe says, I relate back to the hermit as about the self. Yeah. But then how do we like do you look at so when you read the nines and the tens and the minors, do you read them as like self and community? Tens about community. Oh, it's interesting, isn't it? I do love me some geeky chat about numerology. So let's definitely continue it next week. Let's look at the twos and the threes. And something else that I'm quite keen on doing, I'd said this earlier on, is looking at the context of specific decks. So taking a deck and thinking, right, what do I see as the numerology in this deck? And quite often, if I think it's going to be helpful, I'll write it myself out a wee key. The aces in this deck mean this, the twos, threes, fours, etc. Um, in fact, here's one here. So this is for the Witches Tarot, the Canon Reed Witches Tarot. Where's that? Here it's here. So this is this one. Um, I was kind of just going through the images and going through the meanings in the book, and putting together my wee numerology key for it. And I've done it with Dreams of Gaia as well. In fact, I think I made it part of my walkthrough of the Dreams of Gaia. Let's see. Yep, inward versus outward. Says Joe. Kathy says nine is often about completion in numerology. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Okay, so those are the nines, and we'll definitely leave the twos and the threes, and maybe look at the tens as well next time. Uh, the answers are found by looking inward. The hermit and the minors, they are each faced with. The answers are found by looking inward, i.e., the hermit, and the minors. They're each faced with different challenges, some not readily apparent. The answers are within. Nice. Um, Santa Muerte is very number based. Yeah, it is. I, one thing I really love about Santa Muerte is it doesn't just follow the Smith weight system. See, when we look at the tens, like all of those kind of like either moths or butterflies, representing that transformation, that change, that movement onto the next stage. It's like a new beginning as a butterfly, but it's also a continuation of what's come before. I think that's like genius. When I look at cards like the uh, Nine of Swords, I love the Nine of Swords in the Santa Muerte. I think that is a brilliant deck. Um, yeah, really, really enjoy that deck. Okay, who would like a reading with the Shimmering Veil, which is not in its pack anymore because I took it out? Here's our High Priestess and the Shimmering Veil. This deck is really beautiful. So it's really kind of my aesthetic in terms of art, like the kind of oils and acrylics. I really love art that's like that. It's almost like you can see the texture in the paintings, you know. Santa Muerte is a gorgeous deck. Hillary says Joe and Lizzie. I like what you're saying, thanks. Any questions for the cards? Anyone got any questions? Oh gosh, the votes are really in, so we'll get 27 votes on the poll. So 67% of us use numerology. So it's at 2/3. So 18 of us do use it, and 9 of us don't. That's interesting. Questions either in capital letters, because I'm not seeing any questions appearing. I don't know if we're just kind of questioned out, or if people are putting questions in and I'm not seeing them. So if you do have questions, then probably tag me at Elemental Cartomancy is the best way, because sometimes with capital letters the comments get blocked automatically, not by anyone here. Let's see. Beth, if you don't mind, I am going to make you a moderator for me. Uh, should do the track. Simon's heading to bed. Long week. Thanks for tonight. You're very, very welcome. Thanks so much for being here, Simon. I've really kind of appreciated all your input and comments and stuff. It's always fun to geek out about the tarot with you, so thanks. Okay. Okay, how is the 10 Downing Street cat doing today? How is the 10 Downing Street cat doing today? Queen of Swords, the Two of Wands, and the Ten of Discs. The Ten of Discs. I think that it's probably being. Do you know that way we tend to think like cats maybe don't enjoy attention as much as like dogs do. You know, dogs will they'll do anything for a wee bit of attention, whereas cats are very much like, no, no, you can just stay over there and I'll let you know when I need something from you. I'm getting that kind of a that vibe from this Queen of Swords. You know, she's kind of almost like the Ice Queen, where she's like, no, no, just you stay in your place. I'll let you know if I need you to do anything. Um, I feel as though the cat's maybe getting a fair bit of attention today. Obviously because Boris is, for anyone that doesn't know, our Prime Minister Boris has decided finally to step down. Um, so we'll be getting a new Prime Minister soon, which means that a new Prime Minister will be moving into number 10 Downing Street, which is where the Prime Minister lives. Um, so we're kind of seeing that attention that it's probably getting because it's probably like, I'm not going to see, the cat's going to stay. I'm going to leave in the cat. It's probably quite sad. Um, and then we get this 10 coming out, 10 representing the renewal of the cycle. It's time for a new cycle to start. Um, so I feel as though it's kind of people are probably paying it more attention than what it's used to than what they usually do. I don't really know if the cat's got much time for it, to be honest with you. It's probably a wee bit like, yeah, yeah, aye, okay, don't let the door hit your arse on the way out, kind of a thing. Um, and yeah, there's definitely a kind of a change around coming for it soon. So that's probably how the cat in 10 Downing Street's doing today. Okay, we don't really have a lot of questions coming in. What I'll do, if anyone has a question, put it in now. If not, no worries. I will. Right now, what I'll do is I'll pull a card for the collective. Um, oh, no, I won't because we've just had a question come in from Kathy, I think. 4 weeks till I finish uni for good and hopefully graduate. I've got a shit ton to do. Will I get it all done? Oops. So let's have a look at Kathy's uni situation. Okay. Two of air, king of discs. Oh, and the ten of discs is really trying to speak to us today, isn't it? It'd be funny if that's the card that we pull for everyone. Um, the two of swords, you're basically being presented with two paths here. Um, I'm always kind of a wary with these questions. See, when it's like, well, I get it all done. Um, I could say to you just now, no, you won't. And then all of a sudden you're like, shit. And you're like, oh, there's so much I need to do. Or, I'm always wary of influencing you. Basically, I think there's still potential for it to go either way. And it's going to depend on how you approach it from here on in. You could go at it from a point of view where, like, oh, well, I'm not really going to try. There's no point either because he's telling me I've got it in the bag. Why will I'm not? It's cool, everything's sorted. I know that it's going to be fine because the card says so. And then you kind of you become complacent. Or if I was to say to you, oh no, actually, it's not looking like you're going to get it all done, then you might think, well, what's fucking point in me trying then? If I know that I'm not going to get it all done. So but we've got a two card here, right? And it's showing alternative pathways. So you could approach this in a way where you kind of ramp up the work and you're really conscientious about it and you really try and get it all done. In which case, you probably will end up getting it done. Okay, the 10 shows like a completion and accomplishment and that kind of a thing. The other option, you could decide, I'm just going to kind of a chillax now and take it easy and just hope for the best. I think it's about, and this is where the King of Discs comes in as your advice card. It's all about taking control. You know, it's all about taking responsibility, looking at the bigger picture, and taking control of your destiny, of what you've got coming up. And the 10, for me, it's a really positive card. It shows the end of a cycle, which is happening one way or the other. Um, but it has all of that kind of those. So you've completed your learning, and now it's time for you to go on and pass that knowledge on or use it out in the big bad world, kind of a thing. Um, so yeah, best of luck to you. I think you're still on it could still teetering on the fence. It could still go either way. I think the best thing you can do is kind of take an active part in what happens next, if that makes sense. Uh, the cat's like, yeah, whatever. Um, where's the treats? Don't call me, I'll call you. Whoops. Thanks, Chris. For some reason, I like the cat, says Liz. Uh, Kathy says, yeah, stop pissing it about on YouTube and hit the books. Just feeling overwhelmed. The ball's in my court, thanks. Yeah, I'd like the fact that you've got the King of Discs coming up. The Kings are all about, taking control of the situation. They've got their eye on the bigger picture, and they're in charge of the overall stability of the kingdom. You know, the fact that he's coming out suggests that you have the potential to step into that role. So you've not gotten yourself to a point where it's not like it doesn't matter what you do, it's too late. It's not past the point of return. There's still a lot of power that you have in this situation. But I think that, with the Two of Swords, with this kind of a one way or the other situation that we've got here, it really depends on whether you're willing to step up and step into that role and be the king. Hi, Emmy, how are you? Uh, and yeah, Beth is saying, good luck, Kathy, you can do it, or at least you can do it enough. Yeah, best of luck. I hope that it all goes well. I remember it all too well. When I was at uni, and when I was kind of coming up to my thesis deadline, I I think I had a bit of a breakdown at one point, because it all just got too much for me. But I managed to get there, so I did. I managed to kind of turn it all around at the last minute, and I got the grades that I needed, so I did. So yeah, best of luck. Right, shall we pull a wee card for everyone for the weekend? And if there's no other questions by the time I've pulled a card for us all, then we can call it a night. So a card for everyone for the weekend. Jesus. Oh, we've got the world. That's the same card that I pulled last week in the Marielle study group. I pulled it from the Marielle, but the world was the card that I pulled for the collective last week. That's weird, isn't it? Okay. So the world suggests that we've got another great weekend ahead of us. Um, whatever that thing is that you're trying to achieve, you know, that that goal is within your grasp, and you actually have the ability, the power, the circumstances to reach out and actually grab it. Um, feel truly fulfilled. That when we say it like that, it feels really kind of a action based. It feels very get up and go. It feels very kind of a hustle and bustle, and things are happening. Maybe what you're wanting to achieve is an inner peace. Maybe what you're wanting to achieve is actually just having a weekend to yourself, or having some time to yourself where you can just relax. Maybe it's having an afternoon sitting on the couch and putting your feet up that just gives you this overwhelming feeling of, sense of self and a feeling of joy and pride in life and all that kind of a thing. All these amazing things that we associate with the world card. Whatever it is that you've been striving towards, that is within your grasp this weekend. So let's go and and make this weekend ours. Let's kind of let's latch on to that. It's such an amazing feeling and such an amazing card. It's almost difficult to put it into words, but that pure bliss. Let's go out and find our bliss. Okay. Um, Interesting. Well, the world is going through a lot right now with big changes. It is, but with change comes potential. Thank you, Chris. Ability to exhale this weekend. Woohoo. Yeah, definitely. I definitely think so. And the image is beautiful, you know, it's almost like I mean, you could see this as looking at this figure in the sky with clouds around about it, but also it kind of a look like we're looking up at it through some sort of cave. We're looking out through some sort of cave and seeing this figure and the threshold. So it's like you've had this path through the cave and you're finally at the end of it, at the end of the tunnel. So I'm getting like an overwhelming sense of accomplishment and achievement here with this card. Um, you know, it's time to reap the rewards of the journey that we've been on. Hillary says, I'll be having a mammogram. I won't be looking like that figure, but thanks, Chris, and I'll have a blissful weekend. Well, I hope that everything goes okay for you, Hillary, or as okay as it can go. Um, you know, best of luck for, you know, everything that you've got going on this weekend. Dancing on the precipice, dancing our way into the light. Absolutely. Okay. Um, Guys, I hope that everyone has an amazing weekend and an amazing Friday. We're not at the weekend yet. Have a great Friday. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll be back next week at the same time, and we'll maybe continue the numerology chat then. But until then, take care, everyone, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.